Hello, sports fans. Welcome to another week of the San Diego Prep Insider High School Baseball Podcast here at the Canyonside Baseball and Softball Academy. I am Christian Pedersen. This is David Ring. That's Tommy Morris.
I wish I was David Ring sometimes.
We all wish we were David Ring. If we could all be David Ring, we would be David Ring. But there is only one OG Canyonside Cages ding master, if you will.
You guys are making me blush. Jeez.
Hey, you know, whew, it's not just hot in here, it's you. We're at the end of the regular season. We got a couple days left, and then playoffs will be going the next time we meet up for a podcast. So this podcast is dedicated to a celebration of the regular season, giving out some awards, some final game balls, a little bit of a retrospective, tie a nice little bow on it, wish it well, and then say hello to the playoffs next week. When basically we say, well, none of that actually mattered for the last 2 months. Let's boogie for a 2-week tournament. That being said, let's just start with a universal truth that chicks do dig the long ball. So we're going to start with Dave's dingers.
I would say triples, actually.
Triple is the most exciting. That's why we got all these awards, because we got to figure out ways to give love to a ton of players. So we all have MVP, we all have top pitcher, we all have top hitter, and then each of us have our own little separate subsets of awards. So let's do this, guys. Let's get through. Let's leave MVP, hitter, pitcher for the end of the show. Okay. Let's get through dingers, game balls, and each of our own awards. So, Dave, you want to start with what the people are here for?
All right, let's go with the close to the final for the home run race to finish the season here. We got Vincent Martinez moving up the ranks. He's got 9 home runs right now. He plays at San Marcos. He is one behind D'Artagnan Van Dusen.
You didn't read Three Musketeers as a kid growing up, obviously.
I can't do it. I can't get it right. That's okay. D'Artagnan. He's got 10 still. And it's funny, I've been looking at the Max Preps stats for the entire state of California. These guys are on the list. It's pretty impressive.
What's up, San Diego?
All right, rest of my dingers. I'm going to go with the rest of the list. Garrett Nielsen, Christian. He's got 8 home runs. Going to Cal next year. Jesse Garcia for Grossmont. He's got 8 now. Joey McGreasy's got 7 now. I mean, that's basically the leaderboard, and I'm not sure how it's going to finish.
I see a couple other names on there.
I wanted to throw a Dave's dinger out to Cade Kretschmar.
Yep.
He's at San Marcos. He's got 4 home runs now.
He's going to be playing at Dartmouth next year.
And Coronado's Toby Brown, 3rd home run of the season versus Mission Bay. They actually clinched league in an impressive showing in league play this year. So
absolutely, yeah. You want to hit us with hit us with your game balls also?
Of course. And I wanted to throw some game balls out to some walk-off wins. Huge win. Huge end of the season win for Claremont. Huge. They beat UC on senior night, which I was watching some video. People were going absolutely crazy. It was an 11-10 victory in 8 innings, a walk-off single by Zach Daudet. You know, a slightly disappointing season for Claremont. Didn't show up in league like I think they wanted to, but I mean, to go out with a win.
When a win like that late in the season, if you can just get into the playoffs.
Exactly. That's a huge win.
Tad bit of momentum hitting there.
Exactly.
Any more game balls?
Yeah, definitely. Kearney wins league 6-5 on a walk-off by Jacob Redondo.
There you go.
They had 481 this year. This guy went off. And I wanted to mention a few guys on that team. Just because we haven't mentioned Kearney a ton this year.
Do it, yeah.
Devin Fergroso, Jared Gray, Chris Mellos, Roman Ramirez, Antonio Fierro. These guys pretty much ran the ship this year. Did not lose in league. Beat Lincoln, a very tough team to beat at the end of the season. And hats off to Cathedral beating Saints 3-2 to clinch Western League. That's a big win for them. It's going to be interesting to see where they are to start playoffs. Looking at them in the Division I rankings right now.
You're on that cusp of Open Division, Division I.
They're on the cusp, so it'll be interesting to see where they end up.
Tommy, over to your game balls / you have a new award to be given out for the first time ever.
Yes, I do. I got the Dirty Jersey Grittiest Player of the Year award. We're going to save that for after the game balls.
Give us the game balls.
Game balls. These are smaller school guys. I'm going to start with Ryan Sawyer from Mount Empire. Kind of a season award. He has 36 stolen bases on the season, which is insane to do in a high school season. Andy Simo from the Bishop School, 4 for 7 with a home run, 5 RBIs in a doubleheader against Southwest EC. The Knights won both of those games. And then I got Marvitz's Edmund King, 4 for 6, home run, 3 RBIs in 2 games versus Olympian, and the dirty uniform.
Yeah, introduce us to the first ever recipient of the dirty uniform gritty player award.
So there's a lot of things. So basically, back in my playing days, which didn't last very long, I always knew I had a good game if I came home and my uniform needed to be washed. So that's kind of where this award comes from. The guy who's probably got to wash his uniform the most. It's going to go to Emilio Luna from Castle Park, and here's why. First of all, stolen bases, 33, incredible considering the fact that he's been on base a little bit over 40 times, and a lot of those were extra base hits. The fact that he would basically have to steal a couple bases every single time he was on first in order to obtain that is unbelievable. Another stat I love the triples, 6 triples for him this year.
You got to go a couple up from that. What's that 11 that he's got?
I was about to go to there. Hit by pitch 11 times. So Emilio, I put you on my fantasy team as well. Huge fan of the way you play the game. Keep up the good work.
Might have to rename that the Craig Biggio Award, unless that's too big of a generational gap between our baseball fandom and the kids these days. I will hit you with, I want to break out 2 new awards. I want to give the Feel Good Surprise Team of the Year award out to Coronado, as you brought them up winning league. I mean, this is a team that 2 years ago was CIF champions. Last year really suffered with graduation and just, I mean, from year to year fell off the map as hard as a team can, and bounced back as great as you can. I mean, I understand that we haven't seen how the playoffs play out, so I'm not going to say that they're going to win a CIF championship, but to win a league title, especially when last 2 weeks of league, they had games against UC and Mission Bay. They lost the first one against UC to put themselves in everything from there on out was a must-win situation, and they closed the game. They slammed the door shut. They finished it out. Also, want to give it out to a breakout star of the year, Keona Williams from Westview, guys. Hitting .357 in 105 plate appearances this year. That's just a good year no matter what, but get this, he's only a freshman.
Damn. We were talking about him for a long time.
Yeah, buddy. Those are each of our individual things. Now is the part where we look forward to your angry tweets and your subtext and your responses. We're going to try and just throw out a couple of disclaimers before we go to this. We don't know every single stat. We don't know every single plot line. So we apologize if you feel egregiously just left out. It is hard to distill 100-something teams down to one award. And, with 300, 400 players down to one hitter, one pitcher, one MVP. This is, you have to put in a little more weight into higher up divisions. You have to put a little bit more weight into strength of schedule. So we are not definitively saying that this is the best player. We are just saying that this is each of our opinions on the best player, and we do want to hear from you guys, because I'm willing to engage in any sort of healthy debate about it. I'm not trying to troll people into thinking that I want this, that, or the other. I just want to. Let's actually talk about it, guys. Let's start with our top pitcher of the year, then we'll do top hitter, then we will close out the show with MVP. Sound good?
Definitely.
So let's do this. You get the floor for 30 seconds to make your case about your respective player, then we'll chop it up collectively for a minute to discuss. Sound like a fair set of rules right now?
Deal.
Tommy, since you said deal first, you get to go first. Give me your top pitcher of the year and 30 seconds on it.
It was tough, but I had to go with Bryce Rowe out in Ramona. He had a .16, what's that one more time? .16 ERA for Ramona, a 6-1 record and 50 strikeouts, and I got 30 seconds, right? So I think I'm just going to say his ERA over and over and over until the 30 seconds is up. .16 ERA.
Fair enough. Dave, the floor is yours.
This was a tough one for me because there was 3 pitchers in San Diego that have given up 0 earned runs in over 40-plus innings. So my top pick is Kobe Lopez at Imperial. The guy has a ton of Ks, hasn't given up a run all season. These guys have played fantastic. Wanted to give a quick shout out to the 2 guys at Eastlake, Brian Leonhardt and Ricky Tibbett. These guys have not given up a run either. So 0.00 ERA.
The fattest of goose eggs that you can offer up.
It's pretty impressive.
Triple goose egg.
So congrats to you guys on those numbers.
And again, that's for the Imperial Tigers, who are the #1 seed in their division right now, almost closing in on 30 wins. Yep. Should be a very interesting team to watch if anyone will be able to stop them in the playoffs. Guys, I got to give it out to Grant Holman. When you don't lose games, how can you argue with that? I love the ERA nitpicking, Bryce Rowe and Kobe Lopez both have very low ERAs. Holman had some starts where he got a little bit more touched up than I think we're used to seeing, but literally just when you don't take an L ever, I don't see any way that you can argue against it.
Something to be said about your team feeling good every time you get up on the mound like that.
Yeah, you just instill confidence in your hitters, and that's where there is some minutia to all this. You could say that Kobe Lopez not working with the same type of offense behind him. Bryce Rowe's got a different sort of strength of schedule than Imperial. That's where we now want to put it to you guys. Who do you think is the rightest, the wrongest? Is there someone that we're completely sleeping on? But I think that between our three lists, we got a pretty consensus. Like one of those dudes is some of the top pitching. Hitting, on the complete opposite end, who was tearing it up the most? Dave, we'll start with you.
I gave my MVP to a catcher at San Marcos this year. He had a very...
We haven't talked about MVP yet. We're talking about hitter right now.
Oh, excuse me. My best hitter.
We don't know.
Excuse me.
Let's see if we can say it right.
My best hitter. Oh, gosh. D'Artagnan.
D'Artagnan. There you go.
Yes. Van Dusen. 47 RBIs. If you don't know, this guy plays at Lincoln, had an amazing season. I mean, has stats that compete with any player in the state of California. 47 RBIs and the amount of high school games these guys play. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous.
He's on my fantasy team, not to brag.
That's probably why you had more votes than me. But yeah, I mean, 47 RBIs is a number that you're not going to see a lot of guys have, let alone, you know, in the country. I'd be surprised to see if a ton of guys have more than that.
Tommy?
I'm going to go to Christian. I'm going to go to, not you, Christian, but the school Christian, Garrett Nielsen. 422 batting average, 8 home runs, 22 RBIs. He'll be playing at Cal next year. Christian had a pretty tough schedule, so to put up those numbers, he is impressive. Golden Bears got a good one.
Yeah, love seeing the fact that him and Sam Wesniak from Sage Creek will be hitting together, because that's just San Diego will be putting on at the next level. Guys, I got to go with Dayton Dooney from Poway. I mean, this kid hitting almost a 500 clip over the course of the season. And Dave, you brought up sort of an interesting point about the RBIs with D'Artagnan. Dooney's doing it in reverse. Like, yes, he has a ton of RBIs, but his hitting is so prolific that it's helping everybody else on the team, because there are runners on for Kevin Van Linga and company to get people over, because Dayton Dooney's just everywhere. He's at first, he's at second, he's on the mound. He's just like, he is a nuisance in that infield because he's always somewhere to be found. And when you have a hitter like that, and then you go over and you look at 25 W's in that win column, you start to go, wait. That's huge. So I don't think that there is a single hitter in the county who has a greater impact on his team's win-loss record right now than Dayton Dooney does at Poway, simply because he just, you were at the point where, like, he's got an OBP of like 680 or something like that. Like, they're not pitching around him. They have to pitch to him because of the rest of the lineup, but they have to pitch to the rest of the lineup because they're not getting Dooney out. So it is just this huge plus for him. That being said, we now go to our MVP award, which has already sort of been leaked, if you will. There was a bit of a security breach on this side of the screen.
I was too excited.
So Dave, I won't even give you the drum roll. Just tell me about Vincenzo Martinez up at San Marcos and why you think that he is the single most valuable regular season player in all of San Diego high school baseball.
It's for the exact reason that Buster Posey has won the MVP. When you're commanding a pitching staff, hitting home runs, high average hitter, your team is 11-3 in league. I mean, they're going to face Mission Hills this week and see who takes the title, so it's going to be an awesome game. But I think Vincenzo is we could sing a song for this guy, man. He's impressive. It's kind of like watching the Yankees play, man. This guy can do everything. He could be the next.
I mean, he's built like he might be an Aaron Judge type player.
He could be the next Gary Sanchez, type of player. Impressive.
Just fingers crossed that he doesn't go through a Giancarlo Stanton type month and start the season out next year with 85,000 whiffs. Okay, so we got Vinny Martinez from San Marcos nominated. Thomas Morris. I see the name. I'm not going to spoil it for people. I want you to tell it to people. Who do you have as your MVP?
The way I picked this, I kind of go back to the backyard baseball days, and you have all the kids sitting in the bleachers. You have to pick one first. Who would I pick first?
Lay it on me, man.
I would pick Joey McGreasy, and from Torrey Pines
High School.
And the reason why is MVP to me means most valuable player, and that in high school to me means you need to pitch and hit. Joey does both very well. He's got a .4 ERA. He's talking about not losing game, 10-0 on the mound for the Falcons. At the plate, .319 with 7 home runs and 25 RBIs. So he's their guy on the mound and at the plate. Tough to argue, especially because they have a really tough schedule. So the stats are even more impressive, and they're one of the best teams in the county. So I got to go with Joey McGreasy.
Guys, I'm going to close it out with Kingston Liniak from Mission Hills. And I mean, this is insane that we have dueling MVP candidates in the same league, but it's that league race that is exactly why I'm talking about Liniak, because to me, MVP for the regular season is maybe a little bit different than overall most valuable player, because Vinny Martinez very well may help San Marcos to an open division championship because of the home runs in the postseason, but we got to kind of put those expectations away when you're talking about regular season. And regular season, Mission Hills is toe-to-toe with San Marcos, and that in and of itself, to have a D2 Mission Hills that for a couple of years now has struggled with San Marcos and been more or less irrelevant and obscured out to the side in terms of that league race. They are in it with this week. Those two teams will meet for a league championship up there. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I mean, that's no matter what happens in that game, because obviously we're doing this with a couple of games still left to happen before all the awards can fully be given out, but no matter what happens there, to have Mission Hills in the running for a league championship after the last couple of years that they've gone through, I see no other possible person that you can highlight as being more directly responsible for a team's complete transformation from to. Whoa. I see no reason why you cannot say that Mission Hills is the favorite for the Division II championship. Like, they are a dominant team, and Kingston Liniak is a huge part of that because he is just a line drive machine.
The unsung heroes that you never even thought about. I mean, there's teams that have guys that you expect to produce, like the East Lakes have the Brian Leonhardt, and Cathedral's got a guy like Nick Nastrini this year who thought he was going to hit like he did this year. I mean, this guy was slated to be one of their top pitchers, and
I mean, he's going to UCLA, so
threw him in the lineup, and the guy,
best baseball school in the world.
Guy hits tanks. Like, it's pretty impressive to see, you know, the new batch of kids, like you said, the freshmen, and some of these guys that you expect to produce that are getting the job done.
All that being said, you now get to take the piece of paper that is the regular season and all the awards and just crumple it up and be like, later, because it's playoff time. Guys, next time we meet up, the brackets will have been released, and the bedlam that is playoffs getting started will be underway. Just real quick, on our way out, what are one or two things that you're most excited about? Plot-wise, team-wise, just give the people a small teaser about what you personally are excited for the playoffs.
I'll cheat and take the obvious one. I mean, in the past years, we've had kind of an obvious top two teams, top one team in the open division. This year, we don't have that. So it's going to be anybody's ball game in that open division. I'm really excited to see a competitive playoff series.
My favorite thing about this time of the year is getting to go to USD, watch these guys play, see them on a stage that they're not normally necessarily used to. I mean, that place, top class facility, and I'm excited to see some of these guys hit against everyone's number ones. So it'll be interesting to see like which pitchers can dominate and which teams can hit the number ones. So
I mean, I'm curious. I'm gonna D'Artagnan Van Dusen in the shortened season of the playoffs. How big of a factor can he be to get Lincoln there? I'm interested in the fact that Holtville, Imperial, Mar Vista. There's a couple of teams there that we have not seen in deep playoff runs in the last couple of years that are all positioned to be teams to beat.
Can I tag on that?
Please.
I'm really excited to see. I always love seeing this. The East County, not even saying East County, I mean East teams when they come in to get play, because we don't get to see them that often. It's really cool seeing them kind of mix it up with the teams that are more local.
Yeah, and then just to kind of finish the thought, Otay Ranch and Mission Hills and Parker, and like I'm excited to basically crown the D2 champion as the best baseball team in San Diego County. I mean, that's where I kind of see the biggest, closest. But yes, all that being said, playoffs will be back next week, and that's when we break out the 6 podcasts for 6 brackets, and we literally talk for 12 and a half hours because all 3 of our mental capacities just go blah, 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 and we wind up with hilarious outtakes that we always say we're going to put online, but we never do. And we'll bring the green tea, and we'll see if Dave starts yammering on about the wrong schools and the wrong brackets and all that. You can find it next week. But for now, guys, let's chop it up about the awards that you saw. Let's hear from you guys about San Diego, just make up your own awards. Tweet at us, give them out to players. Let's hear from you. And where can they find you guys?
At Real Tommy Morris on the Twitter and Instagram.
At Canyonside Cages on Instagram and at David Ring 4 on Twitter. I'm
at Mr. CPED. The show is SD Prep Insider on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and download our podcast on the iTunes and SoundCloud stores so you can listen to it anywhere, wherever, whenever, however.
They're in the cloud.
They're just, whoop, there it goes. All righty,
we'll end on our lack of technological know-how, and we'll just stick to baseball, folks. We'll see you next week.